Joining us now, former director of the CIA, speaking out on this particular issue for the first time here on the Laura Ingraham Show, Porter Goss. Great to talk to you, sir.
Good morning.
Let's talk about what you know so far about this case. Congressman Peter King, Senator Joe Lieberman, Senator Dianne Feinstein, all describing this leak as serious and that it jeopardizes our ability to relate to other countries and for other countries to help us. Speaking about, of course, the details of this underwear bomber and how we discovered his presence and discovered the device. Your reaction?
Well, my reaction is that it's exactly right. This has done incredible damage to us, and it's not the first time. This is just another in a series of very, very harmful leaks to our clandestine services and how we do our business. There could be no possible benefit to this except, I guess, self-back-patting for people involved or credit-taking, things that I guess are fairly prevalent in Washington. But the damage that comes down out of this is that we do make our overseas work much more risky, much more dangerous. We certainly discourage our allies who when I was the director, used to call me about things like this and say, what in the world is going on? Can't we trust you guys to keep a secret anymore? And, of course, when we put out this kind of detailed information about our capabilities and MO, our methods of operation, it alerts our adversaries on how to conduct their business, and they are very good at adapting to it.
Well, sir, the makeup of the bomb itself, the way it appears, how it's constituted, why does that come out? Why do we have the photo of that released? And that wasn't a leak. That was a decision made by the administration itself. Well, how is that helpful to us?
I don't think it's helpful at all. These kinds of things obviously should not be discussed in public at time of war because this is a wartime activity, and I think we have been right to protect it. Washington is famous for its loose lips for a variety of motivations. I'm glad that Senator Feinstein has finally got the Senate committee tuned into what Congressman King is trying to get done on the House side. This should be prosecuted, and it should be thoroughly investigated, and I think this should call for an independent counsel, because I think you will find that in this case there is the opportunity to discover how this trade-off of information really works in Washington. And there is some complicity between the media and people who are privileged to have this kind of classified information, and it's used to the benefit of both as they go along, and to the damage of our national security. And that bothers me a great deal. I've run out of outrage on this, Laura. I'm just plain very frustrated.
No, well, I think of course, these men and women who are putting themselves at incredible risk for our security and our safety, and specifically on this infiltration of this Al-Qaeda cell in Yemen, this branch in Yemen. I mean,
you've mentioned a very dangerous enemy, and that's just one manifestation of it. You also mentioned earlier the takedown of Osama bin Laden. That was supposed to be a covert action, and one of the hallmarks of covert action is plausible deniability. And when the President of the United States gets up and starts the cheerleading and says, hey, we did this, we got him, this is how we did it, that causes us to look very closely at whether or not we're going to be able to have those types of covert operations in the future, whether those types of activities are going to be workable, or whether they're going to become too risky. And I found that, yes, it's wonderful that Osama bin Laden is no longer on the stage. We're very grateful for that. But I don't think we had to explain it quite the way we did, because we trashed our relations with Pakistan, certainly our back channel relations, which we've nourished for years. And to have those things go up in flame over the way we handled the Osama bin Laden case seems to me to have caused us an unnecessary loss, a self-inflicted penalty that we're still paying for. And I think giving away the capabilities that we did in how we do those kinds of link-up operations in order just for really self-credit, I guess is the reason, didn't enhance our capabilities at all. It takes away from them.
Do you think politics in the election year came into play with the way the anniversary of bin Laden was celebrated, and then specifically the way the story was promoted and stopping the underwear bomber, the second underwear bomber?
I certainly do. I don't think there's any question that politics, the politicization of intelligence has been an extremely difficult problem, not just for the Obama administration, but for other administrations as well. And what people don't understand is as we diminish our capability by the politicization of intelligence, we increase the risk to all Americans at home and abroad from our enemies.
Well, I'm thinking of... friends of mine who used to work in the CIA and had very long and distinguished careers. Some of them were overseas operatives. Others were involved in, testifying before Congress and so forth. And I think who in their right mind would want to go work for the CIA if you know that you're going to probably be asked to sacrifice greatly your family and maybe your life, and then you could be exposed by someone else, either within the Bureau or within the government, who wants to grandstand for the purposes of taking credit or because it's an election year. How would we recruit people under those circumstances? Well, fortunately, we've got a wellspring of wonderful Americans, patriotic Americans who sort of eschew the political game in Washington, are willing to put their country first and do step up to bat, and thank the Lord for that. I have seen all sizes and shapes of people step forward and volunteer to do dangerous duty in remote corners of the world where the living is not very comfortable, and they are doing a fabulous job. We don't have enough of them. We need to enhance the motivation for people to want to do those kinds of work, but every time you backstab them or fail to support them or get cute with the politics, you certainly do cause a morale problem, and I would have to say that the Attorney General of the United States, Mr. Holder, has not helped in that score at all with his what I will call gratuitous investigations or reinvestigations of people who are out there doing very dangerous work in the war zone. That has not helped. It's those kinds of messages that people do get and do understand, and they wonder, if you're an operative out there, am I more worried about my front side than my back side here? Are these guys really going to be there when they ask me to do this, and I do it, and then suddenly the wind shifts in Washington, and whoops, I'm out here by myself. Fortunately, most Americans I know in the business who are doing this job are real professionals and just have great confidence in our country and in our justice and fair play, even though from time to time in Washington it seems those things get lost in partisan politics. And now we're talking to Porter Goss, former director of the CIA. I'm looking right now at that undated file photo of the man that we managed to convince to infiltrate that cell, that Al-Qaeda cell in Yemen. And again, I'm thinking, how are we going to recruit people to do things like that if they know their photos are going to be all over the internet the week after the news hits that they were able to thwart such an attack? I mean, we needed this man to infiltrate the cell. Thank goodness he did so, and we were able to stop this thing before it would ever reach our shores. But we need more people like that willing to stick their neck out for us abroad. Well, the hard work of covert service, clandestine work overseas is actually recruiting people, because you're basically asking people to betray their country, their government, their tribe, their family, whatever it may be. And the reason you have to have those people is that we need to get into the thinking of the malevolent people out there who are doing this mischief. It's nice to know that they have these kinds of capabilities. It's nice to know they're here and there and everywhere. But what you really want to know is when they're going to pull the trigger on something bad. And that means having somebody close to them. That means we have to associate with some sort of nasty people. We rub shoulders against people that you wouldn't want to have home for dinner, shall we say. Getting those people is the hardest part. The recruitment is the goal of every good case officer we have out there, to get those kind of people. And believe me, they are very precious assets. And when we start sending a signal around the world, as we have done in this case and unfortunately many others recently, about how we do this and when we do it and where we do it, and that they may indeed be revealed, it just makes that recruitment process ever more difficult. And, sir, when we are then told that perhaps our screening at the airports would not have stopped this type of bomb, it wouldn't have detected this type of gel bomb, that makes, I think, a lot of people's hair on their arms, so forth, stand up, because we go through a lot.
You cannot count on the guns and the guards and the gates. Just a defense mechanism isn't going to work. You have to have good information into the thinking, into the diabolical plotting that is actually going on, and how these folks are going to do something and when they're going to do it. And you have to be current with it, because they're very agile in reading what we do in our culture, in our country. We have a wide open country in terms of press. Our freedoms are very clear, and they abuse those freedoms. They take advantage of that information regularly to figure out how they can end run our defenses. They're very good at it. Watch what's going to happen in cyber warfare in the future. You're going to quickly see that they are going to try and adapt into our whole information technology structure and try and manipulate it to their advantage and against our advantage. That's very clearly out there, being discussed in Washington now. We're way behind the eight ball on that, and we are nowhere near as well prepared as we need to be for misadventures that could happen to us, because our openness in our society, which we will always treasure and keep, but we have to be prepared to be overseas, to be very much in the minds of the people who are trying to figure out ways to get at us before they can get at us. And God bless us for doing it so well so long. And what in the world is wrong with us for trying to stop doing that now, just at a time when there's ever increasing danger? The world is in a more dangerous situation than it was 4 or 5 years ago. It is getting steadily worse. We're devolving into more instability everywhere except, well, maybe Burma, Myanmar. And if Myanmar is the only place you can say things are going well in the world, you got a real problem with the globe. We need to be out there with our eyes and our ears, close to the people who are making the decisions, and understand what's coming before bad stuff happens.
And broadcasting and advertising our methods of operation, the photos of the bombs, the faces of our double agents. That is just, when I saw that, it drove me absolutely into a rage. I'm sorry, and I think Porter Goss seems to feel the way I do, with obviously incredible experience in what he saw up close as director of the CIA. Before we let you go, and I'm glad you brought up the cyber warfare aspect, because I've been talking to my friends at Intel about what they know about this, and it frightened me to hear what they were telling me. Top people at Intel. But what about the electromagnetic pulse bomb that I've been reading about a lot and speaking to some of my friends in the intelligence community about? How worried are you about the potential for that?
Well, I continue to be worried about it. I've been worried about it for a long time, and the danger has not gone away. It is. It's not inconceivable that kind of an activity could happen. It would disrupt all of our overhead architecture very easily. There are other things which I will not mention which could disrupt that architecture, which are actually simpler than that. There is such extraordinary vulnerability in the systems we enjoy today that Americans just go along and think that is just how it is in the world. It's not. We live in a very blessed country, a very free country, and take advantage of wonderful technology that is indeed very vulnerable and could change our quality of life very quickly if it's attacked.
And certainly compromising our methods of operation and our the identity of the people we need to be out there on the front lines is not making us safer. Porter Goss, this was a riveting interview. We really appreciate your passion and your substantive approach to all of this. Thank you for your service to this country as well, and come back anytime.
Thanks, Laura, so much.
All right, Porter Goss, former CIA director, stunning interview on The Laura Ingraham Show.